Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is William Pickford and this is my Enhanced Digital Innovations and Technologies brief. Moving on. So we obviously had a completely different brief, well, not completely different. There's a lot of things that are still the same, but the brief itself has changed. We are no longer working on our aspect of the group, or I am no longer able to work on my aspect of the group. My aspect, or my part of the group, was to work out the projection mapping, to use MAD mapping software to do that, and also to storyboard, which was it was more of a team task, as well as helping out with some physical models and the CNC. But obviously, majority of my part of the project is unable to do due to not being able to use MadMapper at university, and we can't have a remote software for that because it's very expensive, and we're really working in a group anymore because it's not possible. So the project really split up into our individual sections. We can still work in a group, but I don't think our group are doing that. So let's get into my project. So my initial ideas, I was seriously stuck for ideas, if I'm going to be honest. I was very stuck after the coronavirus. I didn't know what part I could still play. I know this turned into my own project, and I should have had bigger, brighter ideas, but I was stuck, especially because of what had happened. It was a very stressful time. But yeah, I sat down with one and I broke it down into three main ideas. So a physical model, a 3D model, and storyboards. Now the physical model, I was really keen on because I love getting my hands in and just working. So that was definitely a good idea, and I could see ways to bring the storyboards into that and possibly the 3D modelling. Because it's always best to physically model first, and then it helps you visualize before you turn anything digital. And then the 3D model, I'd already done a 3D model. Our group has also done a 3D model. My 3D model wasn't very good. That was very basic. It was when I first started using Blender. So it could be something to go into, but I wasn't sure at the time. I wasn't too keen on it. And then storyboarding, which was part of my part in the group. So obviously that's just a blatant one, but I wasn't the most aware about the story when it came to the Battle of Waterloo. I was more of I see myself as more of a technical person, but I definitely should have got more involved in the history of the battle itself. But that's one area which I could have improved on. So moving on, I actually decided to go with a physical model. I thought, act now, think later. I can think about how to integrate technology into it later. But I just needed to have something physical in front of me to be able to just move forward. I had to get something done because I felt like I was just stuck on what to do. So I decided to make a model of the environment our work would have been in. How I wanted to do it by hand using materials that I had at home. Luckily, my dad is a builder, joiner, sort of, he does all sort of labour and stuff. There's a lot of like wood and supplies around. My sister is an illustrator, so she's got lots of card and string. My mum's got a sewing kit and stuff like that. So I had a lot of materials around the house, and I had a lot of the tools to do it. You can see me sawing on the right. So let's move on. So the actual prototype. So this is my final prototype. As you can see, clearly labelled for what it was in what it would have been in the final project. You can see that on the table there's actually a model of it's like a little storyboarding capability. Where I could slide different storyboards onto the projection map zone. I also made the user interface screen as well with a little person. And if you look on the bottom right, you'll see other cards. They were for the storyboarding capability. Moving on. So my idea development, how do I integrate technology into it? So as you can see, my inspiration was actually the tutorials from my tutor Juan. Once I started that, I thought, oh my god, it came to me. I could use this. I could throw it on, and I could create the physical map. I could create the map, which was going to be projection mapped on top of, and I could create that using AR and 3D models on Blender. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. So that's how I bring my current idea and the AR together. So I was to put the marker on top of the projection zone, and I will put the actual map on top of it, a 3D model of the map. What my ambitions, I actually would have liked to have animated my AR zone. That's my end ambition. But even just getting the augmented reality to work in the first place is an achievement. So that was my main goal. But an addition was definitely going to be the animations, because that's bringing storyboarding, 3D modeling, technology, and a physical model all into play at the same time. Now, the development of my AR. So I've got some photos here for you. So on the left is the first little idea or visualization of my idea. But just using a cube, using AR. So that's the first breakthrough that I had when I finally worked that code out. The top in the middle, you'll see the some renderings of a 3D model map that I made. I obviously changed. These are different textures than I used in the end. On the right, you'll see my breakthrough into actually making the AR work. This actually doesn't depict, like this presentation will not depict how long I spent on it. I'm going to tell you now, because I spent a full, I think it was like 17, 18 hours in one day just trying to work the code out and using the models and just constantly updating it, trying again. The softwares were very confusing to get my head around, but once I understood it, it was very, very much worth it. I've got to say, when I had the breakthrough that day, and that on the right hand side, when you see that work, I felt like Steve Jobs. I was jumping around, I was running around the house. Honestly, it was crazy. It felt like a real achievement. The issues I had, so it was actually my main issue at the start was understanding GitHub and AR.js, because I needed to understand what their role actually was. And how they actually made it function, because without knowing that, I couldn't progress forwards. On the left, you'll see the two photos. Now, these actually weren't the issues that I'm naming now. I just thought they very well depicted issues. So then my next issue was structure of code. Well, I was really struggling, because on the internet, it was telling me a lot of different ways to Juan's tutorials. Juan only gave us a brief skeleton of it, which we had to upgrade, but I didn't know that, and I was a bit confused on which to use. And then when I finally just kept trying to put different pieces of the jigsaw into place, and when it finally worked, it was a massive achievement. Like the structure of the code just made a lot more sense to me, but that I wouldn't have been able to do that without the understanding of GitHub and AR.js. The next issue, which came with the structure of the code in, was uploading OBJ and MLT. So uploading my online assets into the code. By then uploading the assets, I could then use the model, but the model code wouldn't work without me uploading the assets and linking it. The link was the main issue I had, but once I got the link, that was the breakthrough, and that's when the AR started working with my own personal model. And then finally, the other issue was progressing to animation. I had a brief attempt at it, but it was very confusing, and the method that I was trying to use just wasn't applicable, and I couldn't use it on my project. So this is my final project. On the right, you'll see a final mock-up of the actual AR. and on the left you'll see my final prototype, my final physical prototype. And in this video, it's a short video, but I bring them together and you see the AR. So here you'll see the physical model with the little map hovering on top of it. On the actual thing, I wanted to depict the blues as France and the reds as the British the Anglo-Dutch army. And I've actually used an image as reference for those like formations. I then moved on to show what it looks like at different heights and different sizes, and just kind of get a real look at it from different angles and just see how it works. As you can see, the lighting does actually affect the AR, which is very interesting because I didn't understand that at first. But yeah, so this is my final prototype. So just quickly, we'll just go back. So I'm just going to talk really quickly about where I'd take this further. So if I was to do this again, I would definitely improve my 3D model. This was a very rapid prototype of a project. It was all very rapid due to my poor time management on other briefs, but I definitely managed my time very well here. I crammed as much in as I could in a short space of time, and when I thought everything was not working and down, I didn't give up. I kept trying, and you know what, it's really paid off. I am very proud of myself for this, and that, that's enough for me. I'm very happy. But definitely, if I was to do it again, improved model. I definitely actually have 2 marker zones next time, with 2 separate models, possibly the user interface screen, and I would definitely look into animation more. Thank you for listening.